Hey, everybody. I am joined by our political analyst, Eric Stanton, to talk a little bit about a kind of a big deal that's happening today, election 2024. My goodness, a highly anticipated race. So incredible. The number of things that we are looking at that are unprecedented. And then some things that have happened in the past, but so very rare. Talk about that.
Well, I was going and looking at some of the history books today, and there were some unique things in there. One of the unique things that was in there is tonight history will be made. Whenever the election results come out, we either have the first female president or we're going to have the first president that's actually been convicted of a crime. So either way, history will be made tonight. But also there's some previous history. If Donald Trump wins tonight, this will only be the second time in history that this has happened where a president's been in office for 4 years, had a 4-year break, and then come back to 4 years. To show you the last time it was 1800 in Grover, Cleveland. And that was the last person to actually have a break and then come back for another 4 years. So interesting fact. Another interesting fact is this is the first time in history that we've had a situation like we had this summer where the presumptive nominee, the person that was in the primaries for the Democrats, bows out and then ends up turning it over to the vice president. So unique election cycle. There's a lot of unique tidbits and facts about it. It's one like we haven't seen. It's like I've been talking about to you and to others. This is a Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is here. Obviously the voters are energized. They're ready to go. Myself and my wife voted today, just like I know you did. And the lines, Miller Perry Elementary, were out the door. It was a beautiful thing.
What time did you go? When
8 o'clock.
Okay, yes. So I was told by the poll workers where I went that early in the morning, out the door, absolutely. Then they got a lull. So it hasn't been steady all day out the door. It's probably folks getting ready to go to work and let's get this done kind of deal.
Absolutely. We got to remember, Rebecca, we were talking yesterday. We've had over 75 million people, record-breaking, early vote, which is actually, I was looking some more at the polls today, which again, I don't necessarily trust the polls that much because they can be manipulated and stuff of that nature. But if the polling in history holds true, this is a very good thing for Republicans because the Democrats are very good at early voting. They're very good at getting people out, very good at getting the vote out. And this year, we've noticed a major increase in the number of early voters, which would mean to us, to political scientists, that these are Republicans, folks who are voting for the Republican ticket that have gotten out and getting the early voting and stuff of that nature. So if it holds true, and President Trump, like we talked about yesterday, he always, or at least in the past, in 2016, 2020, has outperformed the polls. If that's the case, it's going to be a very good night for Republicans.
Talking about the polls right now, though, razor thin.
Absolutely.
If we're believing the numbers.
It is razor thin. And, you and I were talking last night offset that, I think when you look at the popular vote, it's going to be very close. It's going to be very, very close in the popular vote. However, at the end of the night, as you know, we have the Electoral College. We've had that since the start of our republic. And because of the Electoral College, it might end up being lopsided. And it could absolutely be lopsided. And if it is, it's going to be because of one thing and one thing only, and that's the economy. We've been talking about that. Again, I was doing some more research today. And again, like I said yesterday, this thing is shaping up to be a Reagan-Carter 1980 vote. Now, again, we're 2024, 1980, we're talking years ago, and things changed, especially social media, polling, stuff of that nature. But again, at that point, they didn't actually think Ronald Reagan was really going to win in 1980. And not only did he win, he won big.
All right, let's talk a little bit about how this race is so hotly contested. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are ready to get it done.
Absolutely.
How is this affecting our local races?
It's affecting the local races a lot because what's going to happen now, these down ballot races, like there's several on there, like for first congressional districts, stuff of that nature, local senatorial races, stuff of that nature, there's going to be huge voter turnout. Now, obviously, the voter enthusiasm is going to be for the presidency. And some people, after they do the president vote on it, they might just cast their ballot and walk out. But it's going to really help as far as numbers, the people that are on the down ballots. It's like you and I have talked about many times, both in here and then also on the set, that local elections and state elections especially are much more, they affect you and I much more than the average person would think. The reason being, once again, we were talking about this yesterday, is 98% of the laws in this country, and it's because of the Constitution the way it was written, or go back to the state. So if you look at our laws that we have on the books, majority of them are at the state and local level. So we want folks that are in office, whether they're governors or state representatives, state senators, or local folks, mayors, council people, etc. We want to make sure we're electing the right people and putting the right faces with spaces, so to speak, because if not, those are the folks that are going to affect us the most. Now, obviously, on the world level and on the big macro level, obviously, the president of the United States is a very influential position, the most powerful person, if you will, in the United States. But at the end of the day, again, most laws are written locally.
All right. So people head to the polls, and if they're in a blue state versus a red state, the folks who are in a blue state, the people who are running for town council, school board, et cetera, they are going to benefit if they're a Democrat. In a red state, you're going to benefit because is it true that people go down the ballot and go, okay, Republican,
Absolutely.
Republican,
a lot of people,
Democrat.
Absolutely. A lot of people do just straight Republican, straight Democrat, whatever they know before they go in there. And again, it's a lot of times the people in the down ballot benefit from the Super Bowl, if you will, because that's when the majority of voters come out. I mean, I would love to see what the final voter turnout is in this country. It's going to be huge. Unlike the last local election that you and I covered here about a year ago or so, we were talking at 10% of the people showed up to vote. 10% of the people made a decision for 100% of us. That's not good. So again, I encourage folks to get out there if you haven't done so yet. The polls have not closed here in Tennessee or Virginia. Go out and vote because the vote does count, especially in a lot of those down ballot candidacies. Because again, I've literally seen, I remember Washington County a number of years ago, the incumbent sheriff barely beat the person running against him by about 6 votes. That was it in the whole county, by about 6 votes. And so again, every vote counts, especially in the down ballot races.
All right. So polls closing in Virginia at 7 p.m. Polls closing in Tennessee at 8 p.m. So you absolutely have time to get out there and vote. If you can go after work, just make sure you get out there and cast your ballot, as is our God-given right in this country. And so a very important thing in the democratic process. And also, let's talk about the California effect. We close at 7 and 8, but they aren't closing right away.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's a good and bad thing. It's a good thing that when we close, we start getting numbers and we start seeing how the election is going. It's a bad thing because that can sway people, especially on the West Coast, from going out and voting. Something we have to remember, this is only the 60th time, 60 time that we've done this in our republic. Since the founding of our republic, this is only the 60th time we've gone and voted for a president of the United States. So this doesn't come around that often, obviously. So, this is a big deal. And I would tell the people out on the West Coast to vote because, again, they have these down ballot candidacies. You have a lot of people that spent personal time, personal money and stuff that want to be heard, want to be recognized, and want to hold an office. And we owe it to them to be able to at least consider them and just not say, well, whoever I was going to vote for as president is probably not going to win. So, I'm not going to go out and vote, because I saw something earlier today that a lot of the voting precincts out there should have at least their initial numbers in, 80 to 90% of their numbers, within 4 to 5 hours of the polls closing. So that's unheard of. That didn't happen years ago. It'd take a day or two. But it's just like you said, the people out in California might start looking at that East Coast vote and say, well, I don't need to go.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric Stanton, our political analyst. Will be on News 5 all evening long, sharing election results, doing political analysis, and asking you, the voter, questions. So feel free to weigh in on Facebook, and we'll try to get to some of your questions a little bit later on. Meanwhile, polls closing in Virginia at 7 o'clock and in Tennessee at 8 o'clock. So get out and vote.